Hey everybody, it's Mike. Welcome back to the channel. So back with a New Year's Eve 2023 full palm collection update. Last update I did was end of summer, so 3.5–4 months ago, and so I figured it is time for another full update on everything. I have done some individual videos since then, but I figured, you know what, it's been getting pretty cold already in this area. Usually December stays pretty mild, but we've already gotten several nights below freezing. I think we hit 26 Fahrenheit one night. A couple nights ago we hit 27 Fahrenheit, but it's been dry and it's been brief, so I really haven't protected anything out here yet, and everything's actually holding up pretty well, even with those colder temperatures. So, but I really haven't moved a whole lot around since then, but I'll just start on the right-hand side like before. Just kind of go over everything fairly briefly here. So we got the Butea Ordata silver seedlings. I did give one of them away, so I'm down to 5, and overall looking really good. You know, they're not really too fazed by the cold and the wet here so far, and very slow growing. They took 2 years to start in the open pot, and they're about 2.5 years old or so right now. So yeah, very slow growing, but they're doing very well, so I'm happy to see that. Back here we got the Sable Bermudana. These have been growing for quite a while, probably since 2018. That one right there was the first one that came up, and it's in a 1 gallon pot. The rest are in half-gallon pots, but a lot of them are catching up. So they've actually grown quite a bit since the transplant. That's actually pretty fast for the Sable. From what I've experienced, you know, these are actually growing pretty quick. And I will say these and the Sable Brazoria are 2 seedlings I've had very little issues with cold and wet conditions, also transplant conditions like root shock, you know, transplant shock and stuff like that. They've actually held up pretty well. I've lost very few seedlings from the community pot when I had to separate them. Much better results than separating the Texas Sables. I lost a ton of those doing that. But anyway, yep, Sable Bermudana still going strong and looking quite healthy. And I think I'm going to jump up onto the deck for this next. All right, so I went ahead and teleported myself up onto the deck here. Get a better look at some of these palms up here. I will start on the left-hand side. I've got 3 larger potted Bismarckia nobilis, Bismarck palms, and so far so good this year. This one here I actually did my previous video on. Now, this newer growth was starting to decline, look a little roughed up, especially the spear, but the older growth was actually still looking pretty good, and the last few years that's usually led to a spear pull. So I went ahead after that video, I put some hydrogen peroxide in the crown, and there's quite a bit of fizzing and bubbling, and you know, there's definitely some moisture it was fighting off in there. And then about a week later I decided to add another application to it just in case, and very little fizzing or bubbling, so I think most of the moisture is out of there. This frond has improved a little bit. Spear still kind of roughed up, but it's in there. It's, you know, I think it's going to be okay. I think I might have averted a spear pull at least for now. So, and I was talking about how, you know, it came up deformed. I screwed it up. I didn't give the roots any room, and they got really tangled up. And this thing came up deformed. It's been slowly kind of straightening and coming out of it, but it seems to be very sensitive to most of the, a little bit more than these two. These two can seem to handle a little more than this one. So I kind of have to baby this one a little bit, which is all right. But these two here, no signs of anything, even after the mid-20s at night. No frond damage or anything like that. Although, like I said, it was dry and it was brief. So that's the key. Dry cold, they handle pretty well. Wet cold, So yeah, during wet cold conditions, I'm gonna have to do something with these. Probably bring them in the house maybe for a couple days or something. But yep, larger silver Bismarck palms doing pretty well here. Here's my 25-year-old Washingtonia robusta. I dug out of the ground in 1998, and it's been pot grown ever since. And I actually have a video over the summer I did of the full story behind it. So I go into a lot more detail on that, but yeah, it is doing really good. Over the summer, I think it actually gained some height, which I'm surprised about. I didn't think it was going to gain much more height, but I think it did get a little bit, and more width to the trunk. My hand can't really fit around it much anymore, so yeah, it's definitely been happy in this pot. So I'm going to keep it in there. I think it should be all right, you know, through probably the next few years, I would think. So yeah, we'll see what happens. And then continuing the Washingtonia theme, I've got all my Washingtonia seedlings down here. They're all kind of a mixture of, I think a lot of them are hybridized between the Folifera and Robusta, although I am starting to see more Folifera dominant in these, I would say. A lot of these look more Folifera dominant. And I would say these over here seem to be more Robusta-like. I don't know. I think they're all going to kind of have a little bit of each trait, some more than others, but I noticed this one here is the only one without any fan fronds coming out yet. And it's the same age as all the other ones. So I'm kind of wondering why it's not getting its adult fronds. Maybe it doesn't want to grow up. It's a Toys R Us palm. Anyway, they have, strap leaves are looking really healthy though. So I think, maybe it's just behind. It's a slow bloomer. Late bloomer, but the rest of them are looking really good. So I think they'll be all right as long as it doesn't get too wet. Over here, I got my year-old Bismarckia nobilis, silver Bismarck palms. These are my younger ones here. Started them in the baggy method in December 2022, and about a month later, I had several of them come up, and here they are. So yeah, exactly 1 year of growth, and they did get a good boost in growth over the summer because it stayed hot for a long period of time. They absolutely love the heat, and it definitely made a difference in their growth rate. So these are actually in pretty good size for after a year. So hope next summer they get even bigger. That'll be nice to see. Trachycarpus fortunei, the windmill palm, probably one of the most common and readily available cold hardy palms out there, and it's incredibly versatile. They really actually prefer more of the cooler climates like the Mediterranean climates, temperate climates. They do well in areas with overcast. They'll do well in part sun and kind of filtered sun. So, and they do well with cold moisture too. That's one of the things I really like about it. But it is going to need to be transplanted in the spring, because it is outgrowing that pot right there. So, all right, that's about it for the deck. I'm gonna get back down into the yard and finish the update. All right, continuing from the deck, down here to the other side. Here on the pallets here, I've got this one right up front is a Sable causiarum, known as the Puerto Rican hat palm, large form Sable palmetto. To me, it reminds me it looks kind of like a green form Bismarck from pictures I've seen. Not every picture, but a couple of them looked very similar. Basically as cold hardy as a regular Sable palmetto. Zone 8 is a great place for it. Hot humid summers, is probably gonna give it the best growth because they are slow growing. So like most Sables, or all Sables really, they are slow growing, but it's doing pretty good. So hopefully their seeds will wake up too. And Serenoa repens, the silver saw palmetto. There's the green form too, but these are the silver. And just 3 of them still. There's still more seed in there, but they have not popped up. But at least I'm happy to have 3 of them. And yeah, I think this will be a great area for them. So they should do just fine. The pair of Camerops humilis, still going strong, still doing really well. They like this area. They haven't had really any issues. And that one right there is starting to get its thorns on the petioles. I'm gonna have to watch out when I handle that one. It might get me, because I'll tell you something, those thorns are no joke when you get into, if you start reaching into the crown of those when they're adults. If you're not wearing gloves, you're probably gonna cut your hand up pretty good on those. So be careful. And wear some kind of gloves if you're going to be handling them, I would say. And tall pots, 4 tall pots here of the mystery seedlings. I did a recent video where it looks like I have a Canary Island date palm was the title. And it was one of these that had started getting its adult fronds. And I noticed by the pinnate fronds and the way they looked, it was very much Canary Island date palm. So I think these 4 might be, they could all be Canary Island date palm, but once they start getting their adult fronds, we'll know for sure. So I'm going to stay tuned for that and see what happens. I'll let you know. And I've got my 4 Sable brazoria, Sable brazoriensis. These are the ones I was mentioning when I was talking about the Bermudanas. These have been very, very easy in this area. They handle the cold and the wet really good. And apparently they're a hybrid between the Sable palmetto and the Sable minor. So apparently this is the most cold hardy trunking Sable. So there's people growing these in zone 6 with no protection, and they're still coming back. I mean, it's pretty crazy. So I think these are going to be a really good palm for this area. I'm probably never going to have to protect these here, but yeah, they're still doing good, still going strong. So Sabal Brazoria. And here, all my Texas Sabals. And I will say, for the most part, a lot of them have bounced back since I amended the soil over the summer. But there are still some that are just barely hanging on, and I think at this point, it's just going to be survival of the fittest. But you know, a lot of these are coming back, looking really green. And if I come up here, I got some kind of pale looking ones here, but they're still looking all right. And then some were on death's door and they actually started coming back. But yeah, I think, you know, I might lose a few more over the winter, but overall, I'm still going to come out with quite a few of them. I think they'll still be okay. Trachycarpus fortunei wagnerianus hybrid. These are ones I started. These started up, I would say, around spring 2023. So several months of growth here. They spent the whole summer out in the heat and humidity, and they actually did pretty good for being more of a temperate climate palm. There's a little bit of spotting on the old growth there, but overall they're handling the conditions really good so far. So nice trunking trachy hybrid. So, you know, more of the height of the fortunei, but more of the uniform crown of the waggy palm. So it'll be interesting to see these when they get older and how they turn out. Pretty excited about that. This palette here, this is the rest of my Texas Sabal. You can see quite an improvement in some of them after the soil mix upgrade. Got a couple bigger ones back there. And like the other pallets, some of them are just not probably going to make it too long. That one right there is probably dead. So yeah, we'll see what makes it and what doesn't. But I think like I said, I think I'm going to keep most of these, and I think they'll be all right. So yeah, Texas Sabals, the other palette of Texas Sabals, you know, they're doing all right. They're coming back. Livistona chinensis, Chinese fan palm, whole palette here. Still looking really good. Like the other seedlings, they're starting to get those, you know, that spotting on the old growth. So happens every year with these, but they bounce back really quick once the weather warms up and the humidity increases. So it should be all right through the winter here. They're very hardy to zone 8, so I don't think I'm gonna have much problem with, you know, maybe a little protection here and there, but yeah, they're a very versatile palm. And I totally forgot I was going to take a couple of these indoors and try them indoors and then update you guys on that. And I totally forgot. So I'm going to go ahead and take a couple of these and put them in the house. I don't get much light in there, so it's going to be an interesting experiment. So yeah, I'm going to do that after I'm done with this video, I think. Coming over here, that's a lone Sabal minor. I just put one seed in there and it came up. Wasn't part of any community pots, so it's never had to compete with other seedlings. So it's been very worry-free, and you know, it's a little bit of discoloring on the old growth here, but you know, new frond come up. Hopefully it gets its fan fronds by the time the end of next summer. That would be nice to see. Another large form Sabal minor. This is a Sabal minor Emerald Owl Giant. I actually had several of these at one point, and they all just died off one by one. And this is the one that I think, this one's probably going to survive because it made it a lot further than the other seedlings. And it's actually doing very good. So, yep, still doing well. I think it's going to be just fine here. And then the last, well, actually not the last four. I got a few more to talk about, but these are the Sabal Palmetto Lisa variations. So the mutation of the Sabal Palmetto. And if you've ever seen pictures of them, they look almost, I thought they looked almost fake, you know, kind of looking. They're very tropical. The fronds are kind of webbed and, you know, kind of a different sort, real thick and kind of shiny. So they're a very interesting looking palm, but not all the seeds are true to seed. So you will get maybe some of them coming up. They're just the regular Sabal Palmetto without the mutation. So it's going to take a couple more years to see if these end up being the mutation, but for now, they're doing really well. So I think they should be okay. And then I'm going to try not to fall over, and I'm going to get over here, get over this table. So those other mystery seedlings in the tall pots I was just showing. So this was the largest one out of that. And this was the one I did the video on. That's a Phoenix canariensis, or Canary Island date palm. So yeah, it's been I've confirmed it. So like I said on that, I never planned on getting any Canary Island date palms. They weren't necessarily on my radar, but they're very good to grow alongside Washingtonia. Washingtonia and Canary Island date palm are usually seen in similar areas. They like similar conditions, so it's a good one to grow if you can grow Washingtonia in your area. Sable Birmingham, these are ones that came up recently. I had 7 of them, but now I have an 8th. There's one right there since the last update. So I have 8 of them so far. And I also have one Sable Louisiana still coming up, but that's it. Hopefully the other ones will come up, but as you can see, it's not even as big. It hasn't really even grown. Louisianas are very slow growing, so I don't know how long that might take. That's going to take a long time, I think, until I get into the ground someday. But yep, I still got one of them though. So Sable Birmingham, Sable Louisiana, the new seedlings coming up, still doing good. And then these other 3 pots are still dormant. These have some Sable minor seeds in them that I collected from the border of Texas and Louisiana off of Interstate 20. So yeah, still waiting. Hopefully they do come up. They seem to be fresh seed for the most part, but yeah. So still dormant, still waiting. So anyway, but yeah, that about does it for the entire collection. Sorry it was very long-winded, but you know, so far everything's doing pretty good. And even after some overnight freezes, nothing's really looking at all distressed or anything like that. So that's about it for this update. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Happy New Year to everybody. Here's to a good 2024. And I want to thank all my viewers and subscribers for sticking with me this long and watching these videos. I really appreciate that. So Happy New Year to all of you. And if you have any questions or comments, like I said, please leave them below. As always, thank you all for watching. I'll see you on the next one.